Welcome to Dubs Talk Live. I am Zena, Keita, joined by an authority on the Golden State Warriors, Monte, Poole.
I'm just here to help you.
No, stop.
And
we
you're here
need
to help
your
me.
authority tonight. We got some things to talk about. We got to get real serious because the Warriors have lost their 7 of their last 8, falling to Phoenix Suns tonight, 115 to 123. And Monte, it was an eventful evening.
Yeah.
Ejections, free throws, the subs coming back from a 23-point deficit, and ultimately a loss in Phoenix. What did you make of the game?
The game was lost in the second quarter. You know, I mean, the Warriors won the first quarter, and toward the end of the first quarter, they started kind of going into some bad habits. And the second quarter was just atrocious. I mean, they basically gave the game away. I mean, they gave the Suns all these points off turnovers, and it's hard to win when you give a team that many points. You know, 9 turnovers in one quarter is hard to do.
Yeah.
And there was like, at one point, there were 4 consecutive possessions, turnover. It's tough to watch and it's tough to do. But when you do that to a team like Phoenix, where you've got some horses, you've got guys who can shoot, you find yourself, your lead is gone like that in a blink. Next thing you know, you're behind, and you're behind the rest of the night, and that's what happened in this game. They were behind the rest of the way, and you know, that second quarter that's when the game turned. And the Warriors, the subs came in and made it close, but to me, that just teased the scoreboard. You know?
Right. And, you know, to your point, 31-26, the Warriors beat them the first quarter, 31-26. Second quarter, 37-16.
Yeah.
When you can't advance the ball, that's a struggle.
Yeah, when you keep giving the ball to the other team when you have it, you can't score. They're scoring and you're not. So, from there on, it was like, okay, what can we do to get back in the game? And nothing they tried worked until they brought the subs in, and those guys kind of narrowed the gap and made it more interesting. But obviously, in the end, could not be able to pull it off.
Well, let's talk about the types of turnovers that were happening, because I think the one that bothered me the most are the ones where they were trying to dribble into traffic and getting right into the basket and then deciding at that moment that they're like, you know what, I'm actually not going to put it up. I'm going to now try and find someone in the midst of the arms of the Phoenix Sun to now take the ball from me and score. There was one play in which Steph was able to do it on a slashing Andrew Wiggins. That was about it. But there was continued, and you saw there were no corner threes tonight. Meaning, as players are dribbling in, they're not getting that pass out, right? And so I'm
driving kick wasn't happening.
The driving kick wasn't happening. And so I'm wondering, what type of turnovers did you notice that were really bothering you? That was for me. What was for you?
Well, that was one. I mean, you saw the ones where, you know, and Draymond Green addressed this before he was suspended. He said that, you know, we got to do a better job. You know, what we've been doing too much is going into the paint, dribbling into the paint without a plan.
Fish dribbling.
You know, I don't know
what I'm going to grab today.
You have to have a plan when you go in. You know, what am I going to do if this happens, if that happens? And it looks like they're going into the paint and like, oh, I'm in the air. Sometimes in the air.
In the air trying to make decisions.
Now what do I do? And so, I mean, even Chris Paul did it. You know, Mr. No Turnovers, you know. He had a play where he went into the paint and he went up in the air and there was nobody, and the ball went the other way. So it's, again, turnovers, not every turnover is awful. But the ones that kill you are the live ball turnovers, where you have the ball and you give it to them and they're off to the races. Because you can't defend that. You can't defend those layups and those dunks and those transition threes, and that's what kills you. And that's what happened tonight in that second quarter rather.
16 turnovers for the Warriors. 27 points scored off of them. Now, when you think about those 27 points, that helped build a 23-point lead. But there was a special group of Warriors that were able to come into the game and make it a game again. And that was that second unit. They played with such resilience, such valiance. I mean, I was very, very impressed with the way they just kept going at the Phoenix Sun.
You know, and Steve Kerr has mentioned this several times this year, you know, that this team, the Warriors are not the team they were 5-6 years ago, when they can just roll out great players and know they're going to win games. They had teams beat before the game even started in some cases. You know, they're like, we can't stop this team. They got Clay, they got Steph, they got KD. We can't do anything. And the game was over. And now people look at the Warriors like, no, I mean, we can take them. And they're losing these games. And as they lose more games, more people are going to look at them like, oh, we can take them down. So they have to play with an edge. They have to play hard. They have to fight for not just every possession, but fight for every ball that gets loose, every rebound. If they don't do that, they fall behind because, again, we've been saying this. They're smaller than most teams.
Yep.
They're less athletic than most teams. And so when you have that disadvantage, you have to find a way to offset it, and it has to be either up here by just fighting your tails off every time you go out there.
Or here.
Oh, that's where it starts.
You know what I mean?
That's where that fight starts, right there. Yes.
Exactly. And that's what you saw in the second unit. When you look at Brandon Pajemski, who ended up plus 20 on the night, came in, again, he makes immediate impact when he gets into the game. Dario Saric as well stepping up. Now, Dario Saric definitely struggled a little bit to catch the ball, keep the ball, rebound the ball sometimes. But what I appreciated about his game tonight is he attacked.
Yes.
And I think that was something that was missing earlier on was, when Klay's going off, and we'll talk about Klay, don't you worry. We'll talk about Klay.
Again,
But when Klay's going off, it's Splash City, that's what people are waiting for. But Dario was able to say, hey, my three's not hitting tonight as much as I want it to be. Let me go inside and get some fouls.
Yeah, when you're Dario, you know that there's other things you can do. Yeah, you're going to hit a three, 2 or 3 threes maybe a game, but you can rebound.
Right.
You can pass.
Moody had 9 rebounds tonight. Huge.
And so when you look at the bench rebounding, you look at, Moses had 9, Dario had 6, Pods had 4, Trace Jackson-Davis had 4. I mean, those are numbers. You look at the starters, and the high person were the guards. The starting front court. Well, the starting front court was Klay, Wiggs, and Loon. Sorry, they got 13 rebounds together. And then Moody and Saric got 15 together.
Yeah.
So, you need more from your starting front court, and they're not going to win many games with their first unit if their first unit is going to play like that. Not just the turnovers, but also the lack of rebounding and the poor shooting. So
and Kevon Looney and Dario Saric had to take an early seat to the bench after having three fouls early. But you also can't win games when a starting player is not available to play. So obviously,
they've had a few of those games.
The whistles heard around the world. Chris Paul had an interesting welcoming back to Phoenix after having a little bit of an exchange with Scott Foster. We heard in post-game live what it was about from his perspective, but clearly these two have some history.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a long-running nemesis relationship where Scott Foster, first of all, is that referee that everybody in the league looks at and says, this guy thinks he walks on water. That's the kind of reputation he has. Like Scott Foster is the guy, he lets you know he's the boss and he's in control, and don't you ever question that. And everybody knows that. But in the case of Chris Paul, there have been a number of instances over the years where you see, there's his former teammate, Mikal Bridges is like,
CP3.
because everybody in the league,
know.
The players know it, the NBA office, they all know that Chris Paul and Scott Foster have this thing.
Yeah.
And it's not just on the court. There have been things that happened off the court that bled into that, and so Chris didn't get into it. But these are things that make the game, they take away from the game.
They do.
They take away from the game. And so watching Chris go out, he deserved that first technical, no doubt about it. He asked for that one. And then when he got the second one, he just said, okay, screw it. I'm going to say my piece.
Right. Well, if you missed it, here's Chris Paul explaining what happened and his reaction.
Yeah, it's personal. Yeah, we had a situation some years ago, and it's personal. You know what I mean? Like, the league know, everybody know, it's been a meeting and all that, and it's just a situation with my son, and so so I'm okay with a ref talking, saying whatever, saying just don't use a tech to get your point across. You know what I mean? So I got to do a better job making sure I stay on the floor for my teammates. But yeah, that's that.
You said it's a situation with your son?
Yeah, they know what it is. He know what it is too. So
we don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's just I had a meeting with him, my dad, Doc Rivers, Bob Delaney, and all us. So. Yeah, him too.
Is that back when you were with Houston?
With the Clippers. So.
You come out of that meeting thinking.
It was a whole thing, man, but it's still been a thing for a while. So I ain't saying nothing to get fined, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is at this point.
What were your feelings at the beginning of the game when you heard the roar from the crowd after your tribute video?
Tribute video.
They did run a video like a minute or two before tip off. Just saying, welcome back, Chris, and thanks for all you do.
Man, that's crazy. I'm in the back.
Yeah, they actually were.
Well, damn, I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, for real, man, this fan base is amazing to me and my family. You know what I mean? Every game, like 7 minutes on the clock, I'm in the back. I'm trying to get this engine started for the game. But, man, I appreciate them wholeheartedly, seriously. I had 3 amazing years here.
I can ask one more.
He didn't even get to see the tribute video.
I know.
That's so
unfortunate.
sad.
And he's right. He did have 3 amazing years there.
Yeah.
And the one year he came there, and the Suns had been terrible for a while. And they started getting things together, and they needed another piece to put it all together, and that was Chris. And they had a great year, great season. They fell off in the postseason. They got to the finals.
Yeah,
But
I remember
couldn't
that.
quite finish it off. But the Suns have been a really good team ever since Chris Paul got there. And now that he's gone, they're still a really good team. So he was part of the change of that culture.
Yeah.
And tonight, unfortunately, his long time, I don't want to call it a feud, but it kind of is, with Scott Foster got in the way, and he was out of there before halftime. So, but this goes way back, you know. I mean, he was talking about the meeting that they had with the league, and I believe at the time the NBA sheriff was not Joe Dumars, who is now. It was Kiki Vandeweghe at the time.
Okay.
And I think Kiki Vandeweghe was also in that meeting. So it was one of those things that you have where, you know, the league sees something that needs to be addressed, and they addressed it, but you still see that there's still this.
Yeah. Right. So, okay, well, let's talk about how that came to life. Right? So you could see, so Chris Paul was out there. It was the adult in the room lineup.
Your favorite lineup.
My favorite lineup. They were okay. They ended up -2, I think, overall. But you could see there was a little bit of frustration.
Right.
And I actually want to play the clip because I'm not exactly sure how this all transpired. But ultimately, he's upset about a call that was made by Scott Foster, and then a foul call right here on KD. And they're talking a little bit more.
Yeah.
Back and forth. And they're both communicating.
Chris is saying it's a flop. Watch Chris's head. Oh, we already passed that.
So he's just saying it's a flop.
He's doing his head thing, and then that was the second one. And he wouldn't be quiet. And now Chris is like, I'm going to say my piece. But, you know, it's the first foul, I mean, the first technical
and then
foul
Steve
he
Kerr
asked
got
for.
one.
Yeah, Steve got
for
one because
defending
he
him.
came. He
Yeah.
got one. And even Steve, look at Steve. Steve's like, no, come on.
I ain't got time for this.
Yeah, and the thing is that, like I said, man, Scott has his reputation. That's what he does. I mean, going back years when the 49ers, when the Warriors were playing the Trailblazers in Portland, and Steph was out of the lineup. He was out injured. And Sean Livingston started at point guard for the Warriors in that game. And he got tossed by Scott Foster. You know, and Sean is like one of those guys, like, you mean he tossed Sean Livingston?
Right.
Yeah, Sean is like
never
mellow.
Says anything. He's so mellow, he's so chill.
Yeah, but, you know, he said a magic word, and Scott was like, you out of here, and he was gone. So, you know, I tell you, guys are in this league. When they see who the officials are, when they see Scott Foster, they're like, okay, they know they know the drill. They know the drill, and nobody knows that drill better than Chris.
Okay, well, he is going to be back on Friday, thankfully.
Yes.
Not anything longer
It's an ejection,
than one
not
game.
a suspension.
Exactly. That's good for the Warriors. But what is something the Warriors need to be worried about is depending on Steph Curry. It is clear that when the chef isn't in the kitchen, something's probably going to get burned.
Yeah.
We'll be back here in Dub Talk Live to talk about Steph Curry. Don't go anywhere, folks. YouTube fam. Hello.
What up, YouTube?
YouTube, I know tonight was a tough one. But I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, so I don't want to, spoil the surprise a little bit. But, we talked about the bench.
Yeah.
Bringing it back. And I love the fearlessness with which they approached that lineup,
Yes.
right? Like it was like there was nothing to be lost.
Yep.
The way they went after traps, the way they went after the Suns, like the guards. I like the aggression.
Yes.
Didn't necessarily love the fouls, but I like the aggression. It was like, hey, this was kind of like they were down 23 points.
Yeah.
They were down and they were like, you know what? Let's get them some burn. Let's give them some opportunity.
Yeah.
And they actually really did the thing.
Well, the guys on the second unit, they don't often get a chance to play big minutes.
Right.
And so when they get those opportunities, they try and make a show of it as best they could. And tonight, in a game that was lost before they took the floor pretty much, they were like, you know what? We're going to find a way that we can make an impact here. And guys were just being forceful. Moses Moody played really well, I thought. Dario obviously played well. Podge was out there doing good stuff.
Yep.
Corey Joseph was good. So you saw guys playing with a certain amount of intent,
Yeah.
a certain amount of determination, and they just kept at it. And with a second unit, which when you see them start to cut the gap, cut the deficit, what happens is they start gaining more confidence.
Yes.
We're getting closer.
Yes.
We're getting closer. We're getting
Yes.
closer. And it feeds on itself. Next thing you know, the game is 20-point lead down to 10, 7. So
Yeah.
they did a great job tonight. Wasn't enough.
And shout out to Steve keeping them in. Yeah, I like that. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live. We're talking about this Warriors loss.
Yeah.
115-123 to the Phoenix Suns. Tough loss. And I think one of the things that was very apparent, you talked about this earlier, Monte, is that the rest of the league is starting to see the Warriors are human.
Yeah.
And the thing that usually makes them Goliath is Steph.
Yeah.
And if Steph is not producing, the Warriors look a lot more approachable, I guess you could say, right? They look like they're beatable. There's someone that you could really defend. And honestly, Steph Curry wasn't having a night tonight.
Yeah, he was 6 of 15 from the field, 16 points.
But that
Wasn't
1 of
his
8.
nights. Yes, that 1 of 8 from 3, that was the telltale sign. But, I think once Clay and Wiggins get going, I think there will be nights when Steph doesn't score 30 and doesn't need to.
Sure, right.
Tonight, Clay had 23, so he's looking more like himself. He had 20 last game, 23 this game,
Progress.
6 threes tonight out of 10.
Yes.
So his 3-ball, he's now, 11 of 21 in the last 2 games? That is nice.
That is great.
That is nice. That looks like Klay Thompson out there now. So you can see that happening, and that's why a game like this can be close, even when Steph scores only 16 points.
Yeah.
And Wiggins only had 11. So, again, I'm not going to believe that Andrew Wiggins is going to average 11 or 12 points all year.
Yeah.
At some point, he's going to have some 25. He had 31 the other night against OKC, but
He's capable.
it wasn't quite enough. Had a big buzzer beater shot that they thought was going to win the game and got taken away from him because they couldn't finish it out. But I think you'll see those guys get better. And at some point, Clay won't have to carry as much. You knew that wasn't going to be as bad as it was those first 12 games.
Yeah.
Like, my God, neither Wiggs or Clay can make a shot. Now you're seeing that. So I don't think there was a lot of panic about that because they always knew that Klay Thompson's not going to shoot that poorly all year.
Sure.
And I think the same is true of Wiggins. And I think that you're seeing it happen with Clay now, last 2 games. Wiggins has been starting to slowly creep up. He had that 1 great game, and he's still coming. So it'll get better. But what they have to figure out, though, is the defensive thing is still an issue. And when the fouling, there's only one team in the NBA that fouls more than the Warriors, and that's the Pistons. And the Pistons, as we know, are really bad.
Yeah, I was just, I don't know if you guys could see my face when he just said that. I was like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, the Pistons allow more free throws than any team in the league.
Yeah.
And the Warriors are next in that category. So, and tonight they give up 52 free throws. That's like, okay, 52
Season
points.
high.
We won't defend these 52 shots. Go ahead and take them.
Season high 34 fouls.
Yeah.
Most free throws an opponent has taken against the Warriors, 52.
Yeah.
And when you think about, I tweeted this, but Kevin Durant, 32 points, almost half of which from the free throw line.
Yeah, well, you look at what KD had, and he only took only 14 field goals.
Yeah.
Made 7.
Efficient.
Yeah,
That's
made
efficient.
7, but when you can score 15 from the line and Book goes 13 or 14 from the line, that's 27 points you can't defend.
Right.
And so, that's a problem. that comes up periodically with this team, and I just don't know if there's a real way to totally cure it, because when you're smaller, or no, put it the other way, when the other team is bigger and quicker, sometimes it's hard to defend them without fouling.
Right.
You get desperate.
Right.
You get beat and you grab and you
Right.
put. So that's going to be a challenge, I think, all year long, just being able to defend without fouling, because you're going to face these teams, and most of them are going to be bigger, and most of them are going to be faster, quicker, you know, and that's going to be an issue for this team. Hate to be, I'm keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Hey, this is why you're the authority.
Well, I mean, I'm
on
just
the
trying to be
Golden State
honest,
Warriors,
you know?
okay?
I mean, there's going to be some games when they win with their heads.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some games, and we've already seen some, that they lose with their bodies.
Yes. Steph Curry actually kind of alluded to what you're saying. He's at the podium right now. Let's hear what he had to say about the game.
And we lost. We gave up. I know we fouled a little bit at the end, but we gave up 52 free throws. Can't happen against a team that puts pressure on you like they do. 15 for KD, 14 for Book. Like, you're not gonna win many games doing that. So, yeah, tough one.
What was your review of the CP incident, and how much did that take the wind out of your sails to lose him at that point?
I mean, I think we were down double digits already, and we obviously need CP and his leadership and the way he manages the game. I don't like and appreciate. I know that there's history and all that, and I know he talked about it, but when both the player and the ref engage in conversation, like, that has to kind of stay there. That was I told Scott that after he ejected him. It's like there are certain situations where I know players overstep. That happens a lot. There's times that you kind of know you have to back off, but when both are engaging, like, I don't like that. That's the part that messed with me the most watching. Is just like two guys talking, you know, speaking their truths, and let's just play basketball. Once you kind of, you know, take it to the next level where you got to win that argument in that situation, like, that's what I don't like. But it's a tough way to lose CP, and I know he'll be better for it the next time he's in that situation.
I understand your argument or your point when you made that.
You have to ask him.
I'd love to.
You already have one Poole reporter. Right?
So we were sort of talking about the struggles that the starting unit has had sort of throughout the year. What do you think needs to happen for you guys to sort of get unstuck in the court offense, especially?
I mean, I credit the way our team and guys off the bench, especially that end of the third quarter, most of the fourth, who just competed. They played hard. They flew around the court. They knew that they had an opportunity to make themselves, you know, seen and felt on the court in that situation. And they flew around. It was unbelievable to watch, and I was super proud of the way that they competed. We have to find a little bit of that energy. The success of the past won't necessarily carry you unless you do something about it and impose your will. And consistently, we have not been able to do it. I think we won the first quarter tonight. And then, I mean, that's a good sign compared to how games have gone, you know, recently. And then we come back in the second, and then there's just a avalanche coming at you, and we weren't ready to sustain that. So whatever needs to happen to get our level of energy and connectivity, I think, out there. Obviously, without Draymond, we got to do it. Or else we're going to keep being in a situation.
There's Chris Mullin's favorite word, connectivity. We're going to talk about the connectivity that the Warriors need if they want to get a win in the in-season tournament coming up this weekend. Don't go anywhere, folks. It's Doug's Talk Live. I really appreciate that last part. You were reacting to that
answer.
too.
Yeah.
the success of the past
Yeah.
isn't going to carry you forward.
Yes.
And I think that is the part that's starting to unravel a little bit, or
Yes.
maybe just be kind of, I don't know, like almost opened up, like unpeeled.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
the fact that you won a championship in 2022 doesn't mean anything now. It was great that year, but this is a different team. And so we all know what happened last year. They want to get rid of last year too. This is a new year, and they're finding out that, being elite in the NBA it doesn't last forever.
Right.
They were elite for a long time, and this year they're finding out that, let's face it, I mean, look, they're 0-1 against Denver. They're 0-2 against Minnesota. They're 1-2 against Oklahoma City, and now they're 0-2 against Phoenix. So you can't call yourself elite when you're having that kind of record against your Western Conference teams.
Yeah.
Because if you're elite, what are they?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So these
exactly.
are all things they got to try to figure out.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, the reply to that is that, well, Draymond's missed almost half the schedule. Steph's missed a couple of games. Gary Payton II missed a couple of games. Chris Paul be starting, starter, reserve, back and forth. Clay and Wiggs weren't really good first. So all these things are going to change. It'll get better. There's reason to believe that it will get better. The question is, will it be good enough, consistently enough to get them back where they want to go? Because right now, they are middle of the pack in the West.
Yeah.
And barely there.
And
So,
also, will it be enough in time?
yes.
Right?
Yes.
If you get good too late,
Yes.
and you've already racked up too many losses, that's when it gets tough.
Yes.
All right, the Dubs have lost 7 of their last 8, but every day is a new day, Monte. And this weekend, Friday, San Antonio Spurs are coming to town. It is in-season tournament time, baby.
Yes.
And they talked about, Steph said, they need energy.
Yeah.
That probably can be the thing that elevates their energy a little bit, right?
Well, you would hope. And being at home, this team was so good at home at Oracle Arena.
They were. The energy was right in
when
there.
you go back to that 78-4 record, the first 2 years with Steve Kerr, it's like incredible. That's hard to continue. That's hard to maintain. But they've always relied on that, that we can own our home court. And now they have to show that they can do it because they haven't done it yet this year.
Yeah.
San Antonio would be a good place to start. The Spurs are not the best team. They got young Victor, who's going to be a star at some point. But right now, they're a vulnerable team. They're losing more than they're winning.
Yep.
The Warriors, that's a game the Warriors have to win.
For sure. And they come back at home again.
Yes.
Had a weird little break there.
Yeah,
but
one-game road trip.
One-game road trip. But they will be back at Chase Center against the San Antonio Spurs. Wembenyama show is coming. Zena, Keita, Monte, Poole, we appreciate you guys joining us on Dub Talk Live. Happy Thanksgiving. We're so grateful for you. Good night, guys. YouTube fam. Man.
Glad you're there on the night before Thanksgiving. I know you guys are all putting together all kinds of meal plans and stuff, And
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Uh-oh.
I gotta do the favorites. So, favorite main meal, like main meat.
well,
There's turkey, there's ham, there's all these different things. What would be your thing?
Well, I do the turkey,
Okay, I like it.
and it's kind of by request for like the last, I don't know how
You
many years.
do the turkey?
Yes.
So proud of
Yeah,
you. Good job.
I got a sort of a cheat code, and
Oh.
it makes the turkey really good. So there is no dry turkey when I do it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I respect
yeah.
that.
So to me, if you have a bad turkey, everything
It
else,
ruins everything else.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm
So
with you.
If the
I'm with
turkey's
you.
good, then everything else falls in line. We're talking about the candied yams, the mac and cheese, the mashed potatoes. Everything else is like the dressing.
Okay, wait, sides.
What you got? Yeah.
Turkey for me too. I also
Yes.
do, I cook everything.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm usually the person that cooks everything. I do love a good turkey.
Okay.
I love a good turkey. I've not done the others as
Okay.
much. From a sides perspective, I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
I love my mac and cheese.
Your mac and cheese.
I love mac and cheese in general, but I think mine is really, really good.
Okay.
And
Is there one secret ingredient in there that you can divulge? Or is it just tender love and care?
It's just tender love and care. It's also, I use a seasoning that isn't common, I think, to most Americans.
Oh.
It's called cube magie. My mom is probably watching. Hey, Mom, if you are. But it's just like a little cube seasoning that most curries and different sort of other traditions use.
Does it
But it's
dissolve or something in water?
Yeah,
or?
it's just regular
Okay.
seasoning, but think of an Old Bay kind of thing, but it's got its own flavor
Gotcha.
to it.
All right.
So I like to add that to it. It's
Okay.
really good. And I really like my my mashed sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Because I like cinnamon and vanilla. And
Oh
all
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, you got it.
Nice
Butter,
and sweet. Butter, of course.
Oh yeah, butter, cinnamon, vanilla. Oh,
What
yeah,
about
yeah,
you?
yeah. I hit them all.
Of course you do.
I hit them all. I mean, there's nothing that I don't touch on.
I
mean,
love that.
I get everything. I mean,
Oh,
turkey.
do you like your food to touch?
I don't care. It's Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's like Thanksgiving. I mean, come on, where's it gonna? It's all going to the same place anyway.
Facts.
Some people are like,
Thank
no,
you.
I can't touch my food. Oh, okay, well, then if you're one of those people, get those little little trays you
with
give
the
kids where you have little sections in each. Get one of those.
Go back to elementary school is what he's saying.
Get one of those little trays.
That's what he's saying.
No, I'm just saying. You can buy those trays in a lot of places where they have your food. It's sections on each little platter. It's like 5 little sections. Okay, dab, 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 dab. And that way, your food will never touch, and you can sleep better at night.
That's true. That's true. All right, folks. I know we didn't really talk much. Guys,
It's not a game you want to remember.
It's not a game you want to remember. It's all right. We're moving forward.
San Antonio Spurs coming to town. That's
Big
right.
game. IST trying to get some money.
Yeah.
For the
Half
babies.
mil.
For the younger guys. All right, folks. We appreciate you guys again. So thankful for you. Thank you for tuning in. We love you all, our YouTube fam, and have a great Thanksgiving.